another of these completely leaps into another zone. Question from Martin, and we're going to expand it, which is, what are we seeing as a method of getting away from death by PowerPoint presentations? So let's draw the technologies, approaches, infographics. What are we seeing that's new? And on this one, we will run right down the panel, starting with Ken.
Death by PowerPoint, I don't see why there should ever be death by PowerPoint. You do your charts well, if you make sure that they are engaging, you don't put too many words on them, you talk people around them. I can't see any reason why it's death by PowerPoint. Having said that, I think there's also ways of improving things. Videos are certainly a way of improving things, and making films is a way of going forward, not necessarily quotes of people, but moving forward in terms of films and infographics. Does that answer the question?
It does. I mean, that's for a slightly long one. Infographics.
Is it asked for long?
Yeah, no. Infographics. How many of the infographics you see are helpful, and how many are bollocks?
Infographics, in my opinion, can be helpful to communicate a limited amount of information to a very large number of people. But I don't think they're helpful in terms of giving a full picture to the people that really want to know, the stakeholders that you're trying to communicate with.
Janet?
I can't really add much more than what Ken has said. I've looked at other things other than PowerPoint, but when I'm having to do it all from home as a one-man band, I haven't found anything that's in my view, I can't produce a better way of presenting what I've got to present than that.
It's partly back to how long have you got question, isn't it? Because you can have infographics which are nearly death by PowerPoint on a single page, and that is really not helpful at all.
Yeah.
The very best infographics are the ones where they go, wow, I didn't realise that it's that proportion versus that, and it's those infographics that work really well, which is the key thing. I've got a lot of clients who insist on seeing all the data with reds and greens and yellows and all of that kind of stuff. It drives me mad, but they love it. My own personal answer is pictures. You know, if you force yourself and you have the time to use pictures, whether they're specially created pictures or found pictures, you have to explain them properly. And the key to any good presentation is to explain it properly. So take away the crutches and the props if your client will let you, and some clients won't, and use pictures as well.
I think so from my business, we deal with very complex data sets, as I said earlier, and one of the challenges in explaining those data sets, we've been forced literally to really innovate in how we deliver research findings, because you can't deliver ethnographic findings on a PowerPoint in a very engaging way. It just reduces it to nothing of any interest to anyone. So I would say that we've regularly brought in professional communication expertise into our business, whether that's copywriters, professional photographers, designers, who help us to create really, really engaging deliverables. And I think I'll turn it around on our head. I think in the room we've probably got a huge amount of people, a lot of understanding of people and how you make communications messages stick. A lot of people who do communication research, I'm sure. And if you use that expertise to engage your clients, I think you're onto a winner. So thinking about how you make deliverables sticky. We often give key insights, sticky names, so that things that have an edge to them, because organisations have these kind of myths and things, kind of an organisational kind of understanding of something that goes around and that stays in the organisation. I think one of the first awards we won was about how you designed a sticky story about families at risk into a social services department, and it was that design of those stories and the care we took of how we told them and how they could and what they said about the people, which was where the power of the research lied. Not in the PowerPoint, not in anything. It was about thinking about making the ethnographic insight, the behavioural insight stick to the people that it was designed to.
Slightly inappropriately, we call that Goebbels marketing, but it is repeating until people leave.
Yeah. Inspiring, repeating.
So many images.
Mike, what's working for the clients?
Right. Let me give you a client briefing on the end presentation for this particular project. What I'm doing. Thank you very much. We've taken you on, and when you get to the end of this, you'll be doing a debrief. We'll certainly pay up front for one debrief. That debrief will not consist of 100 slides. If it does, you will not do the debrief. You will have no more than one of which will be the one that you will be comfortable that the executive director will tear out and walk away with. If your slides are death by bullet point rather than death by PowerPoint, okay, you will not present. Okay. If you come along and say, actually, you want to use Prezi rather than PowerPoint, that's fine, but I have yet to see somebody use Prezi to its potential effectively. I mean, genuinely, it's fine, but people are trying to use it by PowerPoint. That's your first thing. If there are subsequent briefings, I will guarantee you now that those debriefs will not be the same as the first one that I am paying for up front. And the reason for that is different audiences require different communication styles. We will tell you which the audiences are, and we will advise you on their particular preference in terms of communication style. HR is different from IT. Ops is different from finance. Okay? And it's our job as the client-side managers of this thing to help you get that right, because we want the message to travel inside. And that's really it. Know your audience. I mean, really is the answer. Know your audience, and sometimes just as a very, very small note, yesterday I delivered to my current brand new contract employer my first board paper, and I have been branded as a maverick revolutionary because I used PowerPoint. This is an organisation that is a Word document organisation, and not a PowerPoint one. PowerPoint is even slightly edgy.
That's a great reminder right there that you absolutely have to go with where the audience is. I'm going to ask if anyone has been on the receiving end of something that they thought was good. To give you an example, the two best presentations I've seen recently, the first one consisted of hand-drawn charts and images, and that was the next to best one, but the best one was actually hand-drawn during the presentation. The person got enough skills, they drew the thing, the picture built, and that was only good because nobody else is doing it. If we all did that, it would be crap. But sometimes it's just that difference that happens. So what have you been on the receiving end of that you thought was really good? Anybody? Have you seen something recently you thought, yeah, that was easy, or that was informative?
Well, I really like the look of Prezi when I've seen people giving conference talks using Prezi. I think it looks absolutely amazing.
I think at conference, and I do differentiate between conferences and sort of client debriefs where and I think people will put the effort into a conference version of Prezi, and they will get special Prezi program, Prezi designers and others to do it properly. And it can be the most magnificent and sometimes bewildering visual experience. But I think to Ray's point as well, the more people that use this, the more.
Well, yeah, on that one in particular, if you're going to use it at a conference, find out if anybody else is, because the worst Prezi presentation you will ever see is the third one in the same session using Prezi, and people have got that motion sickness.
Absolutely.
You're the only one using it, it's great. Yeah. Ooh, here we go. Yeah. Anybody else been on the receiving
We
end?
did a webinar on Prezi. Hadn't you used it, Teresa?
Yeah, I used it.
You found it difficult and challenging, and
Yeah, the main thing is the motion sickness, how to stop your clients feeling sick before you got through about 3 charts.
Okay, well, if you're all
I've
reluctant to
seen-
say
has
something
anybody
that's
used-
good. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, has anybody used Gapminder
Only to analyse data, not to
to present data? Because is it Hans Rosling that uses it on TED? And I mean,
Yeah.
infographics, it's fantastic, it's amazing to watch, especially to do longitudinal
Yeah,
presentations.
you can do it yourself. You can actually do it in Excel, which I know because I've tried it and presented with it. It can be extraordinarily powerful. It is, I think, one of the genuinely differentiated presentation technologies that there is. But could I also just make two. The RSA animation things, which I'm sure if you see, one of my personal favourite TED talks is the Ken Robinson one on education, which is magnificent, and if you haven't seen it, you must go away immediately. Log on to YouTube, Ken Robinson Education TED, and just watch it and then watch it again. But that is animated, and it's an example, I think, of a presentation tool genuinely enhancing something which is already, just when you watch and listen to it, fantastic. But my pick of the best presentation that I've seen in the last decade was one person standing up in front of an audience and talking.
Yeah.
No slides, no notes. She was an expert. She talked engagingly. She held the audience, and it was magnificent. And I'm still talking about it 10 years later. And I'm not just talking about the event. I do remember the content. Yeah. Do not underestimate the power of a person talking to a group of people.
I'd like to reinforce that actually. I think one of the best presentations I ever saw was probably 140 slides, and that would count as death by PowerPoint if you look at it purely without considering the content and the message. But what was said in those 140 slides was engaging, controversial, truthful, captivating. People didn't mind because it was genuinely interesting. And I think that's the difference between research that's about something interesting versus research that's about something that isn't. You've got the right audience with the right findings, you can use a lot of material and it will hold people, and that one did.
Yeah, I think we're often guilty in the qualitative research industry, probably in the research industry per se, of not planning what we're going to say before we say it. So we spend ages doing our deck, and actually the most impressive presentations I've seen recently are where the person has clearly thought about not just what they're going to say, but the words they're going to use. They've prepared it in advance and rehearsed it, and the difference it makes, not being run on, not kind of losing your point, losing your mind, using the words that you actually want to use rather than the ones that just come to mind. I think those, and the ones that you'll love, the RSA Animate, the TED Talks, the person has not just doing it ad lib, they have got their script and they have worked out what they're going to say, when they're going to say it, and what props they need. And I think that's communication. And actually perhaps we're great researchers, but we're not always the best communicators. And there are people around for whom communication is the thing that they do, and we've got a lot to learn from the design industry and marketing industry about how we communicate, and also put time into thinking about what we're actually doing.
Can I just add one thing to that? I think it's not just what you're going to say, but how you're going to say it. I think the emotion you put into it and where you put the emotion into the presentation is absolutely critical too. And that is planning. Because I agree, it's not just going to happen. It has to be, no, this is the really big point now. You put the emotion in.
Okay, now,